average is not invited. Not if you're holding your company off-site in Las Vegas. We aren't on friendly terms with the bare minimum, and unenthusiastic is uninvited. Las Vegas's creative energy and world-class hospitality want to bring your company off-site to crazy new heights. That's why fear-based leadership is afraid of Vegas, and boring won't be there, but it will be watching the meeting recordings later. Plan for the extraordinary at vegasmeansbusiness.com.
Who can we study that's going to help us do what we currently do, the best of our ability, and then obsolescence, which you want to avoid by innovation, seeing around the corner to say what's next so we can keep this train moving. Does anyone know what happened to Blockbuster Video?
Welcome back, folks. We got a very special episode today. We have an amazing guest that I came across really by accident, but as he would say, no coincidence. But before we get into all that, how you doing, Walt?
Man, I am good, my brother. I cannot complain. I'm still feeling grateful from the holidays. Just
No doubt.
glad to be here, man. Glad to be here with you. Glad to be connected with Mark today. And grateful for our listeners.
Yes.
I know we tell that
Yes.
to you people that are listening to us, wherever you're at in the U.S. or across the
In
globe.
the world.
So
Yeah.
We appreciate you and we're grateful for you. So I just
Yes.
wanted to say that. How about you, man? How you doing?
Absolutely. Nah, I like that. I just want to say we do love you. It's no joke. It's the few of you, not enough. I wish more of you would reach out on LinkedIn. And even if you got a complaint, like we want to hear the good, the bad, the ugly. We want to make this show better. And it's those little tidbits that push us through because we have full-time jobs. This is a passion for us. And yeah, we love you. Thank you so much for keep listening. We see you. Thank you. Today's guest is named Mark Mears. He wrote this great book called The Purposeful Growth Revolution, 4 Ways to Grow from Leader to Legacy Builder. Again, really great. We'll get into more of that and all of it, hear all about them. But before that, man, let's get into some news.
Yes, let's do it. Mine's going to be short and sweet. And I want to preface anything that I say by validate and check any resources that we give you. Fact check it. Go to the official websites of any agency. Go to Payroll, go to the irs.gov, your state site, whatever it is, to find out this information. But I found a site called onpay.com, and they had some federal and state payroll updates for 2025 that they're listing out there. I'm not going to go through all of them. Like they talk about the health FSA limit increasing.
Okay.
Went from 3,200 to 3,300.
Nice.
Individual HSA limit is increasing from 4,150 to 4,300. Different things like that in there that they break down, and they have a map on the screen of the United States that you can click on your state, and it will tell you if any updates are happening in your state or on the horizon for 2025. So it's onpay.com. The link will be in the show notes. Just wanted to share that, and it's one of the many tools that we have out there. Shout out to Christina, her team over at Valor. She also has a great resource accessible for you and others. Check it out.
Oh, dope. Love it, man. Thank you. Mine is coming from irs.gov. They put out, I'm on their email subscription, their email feed, and this is one of the tips that they sent out. And we always talk about cybersecurity, scams. We did it last year, and we'll do it every year because this is the holiday time is when scammers and hackers, and they really ramp up their efforts because folks are in the giving mood, but also not paying attention enough, right? They're overwhelmed with work and shopping and cooking and this and that and all the things that are happening during the holiday season. Oh, wait, I got my big eye glasses on.
Hold on one second. Can I add something there, Brian? Because
absolutely, of course.
A lot of times, especially for those of us in the U.S. or even maybe across the globe, that may live paycheck to paycheck, during the holidays is when we consume and buy a lot, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people get loans, payday advances.
Oh, yes.
And so when you sign up for those services, you get a lot of noise, and you may click on something saying, "Oh, you're approved."
Yes.
Especially if you apply through some site that doesn't have all the bells and whistles and security in place, and
I'm so glad you're saying
all that. Saying? Like you can click on one of those things, and next thing taking you for the little bit that you do have, right?
Yes.
So just be careful about that.
And you bring up something important as well for folks who can't do anything monetarily this season and may feel bad and click on that. Oh my gosh, I could afford that. Oh, wow. And again, like there, I think I probably speak for us both that there were Christmases we couldn't do anything. Yep. You know what I mean? You getting hugs this year. You know what I mean? Like we've been there, done that. And because of that, me and my wife have tried to like make it all conservative, make it very purposeful, no pun intended, for all of us out there. But for those who are shopping and online and things like that, IRS put out safety tips to remember during the holiday season and throughout the year, right? Time of year for online shopping. The Security Summit reminds taxpayers of some important steps to protect themselves and their information from data thieves. Shop, just like Walt said, shop at online sites with the web addresses that begin with HTTPS. The S stands for secure communications. Okay. Also look for a padlock icon in the browser window. Okay. Don't shop on unsecured public Wi-Fi in places like a mall or a restaurant. Ensure security software is updated on computers, tablets, and mobile phones. Watch out and help protect devices of family members who may not be technologically savvy. And that goes from young children to older adults to maybe you. I used to be really savvy once upon a time, but I feel it's slipping away because the technology is just going way faster than that we can all keep up with. Make sure antivirus software for computers have a feature stop malware and that there's a firewall enabled to prevent intrusions. If you don't know what these things are, take the time and look them up. Okay. Use strong, unique passwords for online accounts. Use multi-factor authentication whenever possible. So glad that they got rid of the 2FA. Like you couldn't say it, right? 2-factor. And then simple steps that can protect taxpayers as well, because right after the holiday season, what is it? It's time to prep for taxes, right? For most folks, they're starting to think about the next step. Oh, April 15th is going to come. So that's a few things for that is look out for phishing, or they even said smishing, phishing emails or SMS text messages known as smishing. Oh, a new word. Here we go. See? So I just learned this now. Clicking on, and my mom always calls me with these things. Oh, they're calling, and I'm like, don't touch it. Don't do anything. Spear phishing. This is a specific type of phishing scam that bypasses emailing large groups at organizations, instead identifying potential victims and delivering a more realistic email known as a lure. Okay. And this, I will shout out to finance folks, payroll folks, HR folks, because if they think you have the keys to the register or any access to the money, they are going to spear phish you. Okay. Clone phishing, a newer type of phishing scam that clones a real email message and resends it to original recipient, pretending to be the original sender. Folks, they're getting really sophisticated. And again, again, shout out to Splunk.com, SPLUNK. They have a free download manual book that goes into the top 50 methods that these hackers will take to do this. And then the last one is called whaling. Whaling attacks are very similar to spear phishing, except these attacks are generally targeted to leaders or executives with access to large amounts of information. This is probably the C-suite, organization or business. Whaling attacks can target people in payroll offices, human resource personnel, and financial office. So I take that, I stand corrected. Whaling is the one that they're going after us for. So please, this will be in the show notes. Go copy it, go look at it, right? Just a little tidbit that will help us get through the season, both holiday and the tax season. And there are a bunch of helpful links here. If you feel like you've been a victim, there's links that you can go and report this and put it on the radar, because you want to give the authorities as much data as they can to try to figure out who's doing the attacks. Yeah, that was all I had for the right. Yeah, let's pay the bills, man.
Great.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Time Track Go. It got me excited. I was like, wow, this is really good information.
That's great.
I get excited with the info. Sharing the info. We got to share it, man. Shout out to Time Track Go. If you're tired of messy timesheets and complicated time clock software, Time Track Go is an intuitive solution that makes managing employee hours simple and efficient. But don't take our word for it. Customers have given TimeTrack Go a 4.7 out of 5 stars on Capterra, and they have been awarded badges for best ease of use and best customer support again in 2024. That's right, again. And here are a few things that the customers are saying. Great value, best clock-in app on the market, great time clock for the modern office, intuitive and efficient, simple to use, priced right, and customer support is awesome.
Nice. So to learn more about a simply better solution for time tracking, real-time reporting, PTO automation, those payroll integrations that we all love, or more, you want to go visit www.timetrackgo.com. That's TIMETRAK go.com and start your 14-day free trial today. Let's go.
Let's go. Also, on lookout for, they're hosting webinars more often. So look out for that. Go onto their LinkedIn page, because they're starting to host more webinars where folks can jump on and just learn more about the app without having to go through the trouble of booking a day and hit my calendar and do these, right? It's annoying sometimes to make these appointments, and even though you need it, you're like, oh, I gotta go jump through these hoops, right? When you want to just maybe jump on sometimes and let me look, no pressure, no salespeople beating down your door. And honestly, the folks over there are family. They're great. It's not even that type of environment with them, like with the sales and all that. They're, again, the customer support, the 4.7 out of 5, all the things that customers are saying, we know it firsthand. Before we even got involved with them like that, we pressure tested the app. We did try to break it and ask questions and all that. And then they came on the show, and then they're great guys. We're still, again, very in touch with them and talk to them all the time. And you got to go check out the show that we do, because I always talk about the wooden time clocks. Yeah. So as we move on today, folks, super excited. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Mark Mears to the podcast. Mark is a visionary business leader and self-proclaimed growth junkie with over 20 years of C-level leadership experience at world-class brands like PepsiCo, McDonald's, Frito-Lay, JCPenney, NBC Universal, and the Cheesecake Factory. Mark is passionate about transforming workplace dynamics during what many call the Great Resignation. He challenges us to reframe this period as the Great Repurposing, leveraging purpose-driven strategies to reignite engagement, drive innovation, and cultivate meaningful growth across teams and organizations. As the author of the best-selling book, The Purposeful Growth Revolution, Mark introduces us to the transformative power of his LEAF, L-E-A-F, framework for leadership, engagement, accountability, and fulfillment, helping individuals and organizations unlock their true potential. We can't wait to dive into Mark's insights and explore how to embrace purpose to achieve great things together. Welcome to the show, Mark Mears. Well, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing? Before we get into everything, give us a little bit about yourself and how you got to this point, and we'll dig into the book a little bit.
First of all, Brian and William, it's so great to be with you, and appreciate the opportunity to have some good conversation and some fun along the way. I like to keep things light.
And we do too.
Give people a little something to smile about as well. And your first question certainly is a loaded one. How much time do we have?
We got a little bit of time. I think, look, the way I've heard you speak already, I believe that you can craft a great answer in a short amount of time.
All right.
I think you got something about a marketing background.
Yeah,
I think I heard about
a little something
like that.
But it didn't start out that way. I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and worked at the University of Kansas, and thought I was going to be a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And so you can't major in pre-law. So I asked around and said, well, what would be the right curriculum to prepare me, not only to get in law school, but succeed there as well as a lawyer after that? And they said, you're going to do a lot of reading, a lot of research, writing, presentations, and really a lot of critical thinking. I said, okay, great. Sounds good. But what curriculum should I look to enroll in? at KU to prepare me for that. He said, we thought about the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. And I said, no, tell me more. And they said, well, you're going to do a lot of those things there. So I got into the School of Journalism and Mass Communications, and I did really well. And I was enjoying my marketing communications side of it on the mass communications more than the news editorial side. Not that there was anything wrong with that. That just wasn't what interested me. It was really about crafting communications based on the way people think and act. And I thought that was cool to bring psychology into communications. One thing led to another, and one of the professors I had was Dr. Tim Bankston, who became a mentor of mine and saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. He said, hey, are you sure you want to be a lawyer? I think you'd really be good in marketing. And I said, oh no, I'm just doing this to get into law school. But I went out and talked to people that were either in law school, maybe recently out. Some even had their name on the letterhead. Nobody was having any fun, and nobody was encouraging me. So I set up another appointment with Dr. Bankston, and I said, tell me more about this grad school thing. And he said, there's some really good schools. I think you should go to Northwestern. I asked him a couple other professors, and they said, Illinois has got a good program. Texas has got a good program. And I got into all three. And Northwestern was my top choice because it's still to this day the very best program for marketing communications. As a matter of fact, the next mentor was a Dr. Don Schultz at Northwestern, who came up with the concept of integrated marketing communications, which is now shortened to IMC. And there's programs literally all over the world that have IMC programs. But I was able to learn at the feet of the master when it was just taking shape. And that then got me into marketing and became the foundation for my kind of ethos or how I viewed building teams and building brands. And I always say that in that order because I love building teams, because if you don't have a good team, you're not going to build a great brand. And Dr. Schultz's vision for integrated marketing communications wasn't just looking externally at what the guest or customer sees or client sees if you're B2B. It was the internal brand. Because again, if you don't have a strong internal brand, the rest of it could be a bunch of empty promises that now marketing is making and operations and trading have to go keep. But if you're aligned with the brand on all of its levels, now I'll say there are 4 brands. There's your personal brand, which answers the question, who am I? Every one of us has a personal brand. And we're more and more comfortable today in this new world of work being able to express it. Then there is the internal brand, which is the collective we, asking the question, what do we stand for? This is our vision, our mission, our values. And then it's the external brand that most people think is the brand, which is really just a value exchange. I don't care if you're in sales or marketing, but all it a value exchange. What do I get for what do I pay? But most importantly, how do I feel about that? And I don't care what industry you may be in. I'll say until the zombies or robots or ChatGPT takes us away,
the AI, yeah.
We're all in the people business. And if we're in the people business, we have to be in the feelings business. We'll come back to that later. And then there is now the brand. That answers the question, do I belong here? So in this world of DEI, where people think diversity, equity, and inclusion are boxes to check, and they don't truly understand the power of diversity in creating a competitive and leverageable advantage for your firm. And I say, do I belong here? Because really belonging is the most important part of it. Diversity just gets us in the door. Equity gives us an equal voice. That's good. Inclusion gets us a seat at the table, better yet. But if we don't feel we belong, then we're likely not going to feel psychologically safe enough to be vulnerable enough to give of our very best. We're just going to be happy to be in the room where it happens. So I looked at the total brand in 4 parts: personal, internal, external, and employer brand that all have to be aligned, like the 4-circle Venn diagram outlined in my book. It's not linear. We don't go from A to B to C to D. It's all got to be integrated, all revolving around purposeful growth. What's the purpose of our firm and how do we grow up into it as an aligned team?
Amazing.
I love the stuff that you just dropped some knowledge on us, and I'm taking over here, trying to take some copious notes to make sure I'm getting all this down. I'm going to also purchase the book on Audible. I'm more of a listener than a reader myself, but I'm going to purchase it because Brian was really just telling me how impactful it's been for him so far. And he's only 6 or 7 chapters in, like you said.
You know what you can do, William, is I just today announced on Giving Tuesday a special offer that if someone buys a copy of my book in any form, I will gift them a code for a free audiobook.
Oh, nice.
If your partner, Brian, just bought one, all he has to do is go back to the thread that just went out today and post a picture, a little selfie of him with his book.
I want to take a break real quick just to let you know about a new show we've just added to the network. Up Next at Work, hosted by Gene and Kata Keel of the Devon Group. Fantastic show. If you're looking for something that pushes the norm, pushes the boundaries, has some really spirited conversations, Google Up Next at Work, Gene and Kata Keel from the Devon Group.
And then he will qualify and I will DM him a code for the audiobook. Now he can keep it for himself, or if he's truly a good partner, he'll forward it on to you and that will be your Christmas present. How's that sound?
There you go. Oh,
That sounds great. That
Score.
Great. Yes.
Yep.
It's
Score.
amazing that so many people, when I wrote the book, and I thought I'd never write one book, here I am working on my second, but said, Mark, I'm just not a reader. If you had it in an audiobook, I consume podcasts on my commute, or I listen to audiobooks when I'm on the road, on vacation, or wherever, or I'm out walking, or I just absorbed it better that way. So I went and recorded one last year, and I thought writing a book was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Recording an audiobook
Wow.
was
Oh,
even
you
harder.
did the audio yourself?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's
and
great.
I wanted to complete the creative process. I didn't
That's
want
great.
some Goldie throat voice actor to do it, although given my voice, I should have.
I think you got a great voice.
But I wanted to
Yeah.
complete the process and say, you know what? I wrote every word. I had an editor for grammar, but I wrote every word in the book and I said every word in the audio book. And
Amazing.
whether it's right or it's wrong, it's good or it's bad, I own it.
Thing.
Actually pretty proud of the way it came out. I didn't mean to interrupt you, William. You were going to ask a question.
No.
No, I was good. I was just saying I'm taking copious notes, and I'm just excited to learn more about what's inside of the book. And I know, Brian, we do have some questions for you, but I know Brian's questions are first, and then I do have some questions for you lined up. So, Brian, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, for sure. One of the first ones, I'm gonna go off a little track here, but because you said it, can you break down the brands for us again? Personal is easy to understand. It's you, it's us, right? Personal brand.
Correct.
Internal brand, do you mean in the internal brand in a company?
Yeah.
Is that company culture maybe?
It is, but we're going to talk about the importance of words. Now, I got enough knowledge in my journalism and mass communications background to really dig into words, and I believe words matter. At KU, we had a legendary professor named John Bremner, whose specialty was editing, but he actually wrote a book called Words on Words.
No way.
And so he looked into the etymology of words and the meaning behind this and where they came from and why they're important. Sometimes how words are either misunderstood or often overused. And so one of those is culture. I believe that we have the ability to go better and do better than culture. You think about it, a culture may just be a place someone feels merely a part of. That's not bad. But a community is a word I prefer. A community is a place someone feels they belong in. Notice that word belong. If you feel you belong, think about the community you may be in, right? Whether it's your business community, whether it's your church, whether it's a sports team that you play on. But there are roles that you play where you feel valued as a member of the community. And when you feel valued, you tend to do better. You'll speak up and you'll give of your very best. The internal brand is a collection of all that, but it starts with the personal brand. I'm a little older than you guys. And back in my day, we were basically told, don't bring that weak crap in here. I don't want to hear about your personal life. I don't want to hear about you talking about, religion or politics. Just get your work done, keep your nose to the grindstone, and come back tomorrow and do it all again. Almost in that tone and those exact words. I'm just
those
saying.
words.
I think, and younger people have gotten more free to be who they are. And you'll even hear certain coaches. I live in Kansas City, the home of the Kansas City Chiefs. And Andy Reid lets his players express their personality to a point. Most people see Travis Kelce today and they see him saying the right things. He was young in his career. He was a bit of a hothead. And we would push Andy just to the brink. We don't want to do that in the workplace, but we do want to express our personality because that's what makes us.
Be authentic.
When I talk about diversity, I talk about it in terms of total diversity. Well, what's that mean?
Yes, thank you. What does that mean?
Right? Because most people think diversity is what I refer to as outward diversity. It's maybe our gender, our race, creed, color, our political affiliation maybe, or our sexual orientation or preference maybe, our religious orientation or not maybe. But those things are part of who we are and part of where we come from, and they're very important. But you don't stop there. The inner diversity, now think of this as a bit of a kind of a yin-yang symbol, right? It's the melding of the two together that creates total diversity. Inner diversity is how we think and then how we share ideas that benefit the team. Because that's the only way you get true value out of diversity is if the team wins. And the team can't win if you're in the room where it happens and you've been given an equal voice and you don't use it, right? Because you maybe fear recrimination. What if I say something stupid and they throw me out of this room that I worked so hard to get into, right? So that's why if you build a community of belonging, people are going to feel safe to bring their best. Even if it's not the greatest idea, I've seen it. It could be, you know what? It's like the improv comedy group who uses an approach called yes and. Yes. And it could also be this. Oh, that just took an idea and made it better. But you were the catalyst that started that. And if you wouldn't have said what you said, who knows if we would have ever gotten to that big idea that could move businesses, that could help change careers and lives. And I think that's really the most important part is we as leaders have to be able to create communities where people feel they belong in, and not just cultures, which means maybe we bring in a food truck once a month, or maybe we have a happy hour, we celebrate birthdays. All those are good things. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm talking about. And to the whole love model that has become now the sequel to this book in a bit, because I really want to hit on that, but I want to make sure I go through the LEAP growth model and what is in the Purposeful Growth Revolution that you're reading now, because it really serves as the foundation for where is the future of work going? And how do we move someone from a doer to a manager, and a manager to a leader, and a leader to grow into a living legacy builder, where they have the ability to pay it backwards and help others along their growth journey?
Absolutely. Love it. So one of the things that I wanted to ask is, what was one of the biggest lessons you learned working in the C-suite?
Oh boy, there's so many. I think it molded and shaped my leadership style to be more of a servant leader, because I had some really great role models. And one of them was David Novak when he was the head of marketing at Pizza Hut, and I was in marketing, and working with him. I never say anybody works for me. I say you work with me. And now I actually change it to say I work for you. And that's what a servant leader does. Okay. And let me break it down. Where does it come from? It has to start with humility. One thing I've learned in the C-suite, there's a lot of smart people, but I would never admit they were wrong. There's not a sense of humility. There's a sense of, I've got mine, I worked hard to get here, and I don't want to show a chink in my armor if I admit that maybe I was wrong on that decision or I made the wrong call in that situation. And so there's a lot of defensiveness and protectiveness instead of humility, which is, you know what? I don't know it all, and asking good questions. And I didn't start off this way. I learned. I had some caring mentors say, Mark, you need to ask more questions. You don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. As a matter of fact, you're probably not. And they would be right. Don't act like you have to prove yourself. You've already got the job. Now what I want you to do is work well as a team. And if you work well as a team, you've got to be humble. And that doesn't just mean in an aw shucks way, self-deprecating way. That means the humility to know that I don't know it all, and I don't have to. I shouldn't, but I have to be willing to serve others. And by serving others, I'm getting the best out of them while they're getting the best out of me. And I have been in some tremendous C-suites. I will tell you, probably the best example was when I was the senior VP of marketing or chief marketing officer for the Cheesecake Factory. That was such a respectful culture. Everybody in that room cared deeply about the brand and the total brand. It's team members, it's guests, not customers, because words matter. And I learned that probably the hard way. David Overton, another mentor who's the founder and CEO and chairman of the Cheesecake Factory, he had people go through Ritz-Carlton training about ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen, because he said, we know we've got great food. We spend a lot of time perfecting our recipes, and nothing's ever good enough. While we have 2 different times a year that we launch new menu items, they also take time out to refine and refresh existing recipes that he doesn't deem are as good as they can be. So that level of excellence that will never achieve it, that's where humility comes in. Here's a guy that is worth more money than you and I could even count, right? He doesn't have to work as hard as he does every day. But I know for a fact he's still doing it. And when I was there, he was well known for carrying around a stack of 4 or 5 different yellow pads, all with hand scratch notes on different areas of the business that could be improved. And I was able to learn from David Novak how to inspire people, that big ideas move businesses, and reward and recognition became his calling card. David Novak then became the co-founder and CEO of Yum Brands when Mexico divested the restaurant group, Pizza Hut, KFC, and Taco Bell. A big part of his leadership style was reward and recognition. And I remember back at Pizza Hut when I worked in that department, he had what was called the Silver Pan Award that was given out once a month to somebody in marketing that the values and came up with a big idea that moved the business. And I remember one month when I was called to the front of the room and he was telling everybody as to why I was selected that month to win the Silver Pan Award. It was a dinky little pan, probably didn't cost more than $2 or $3, but etched on that was my name and the month and all that kind of good stuff. I believe I still have it in my garage somewhere in a box. It was that meaningful to me. So that when it became my turn to lead, then I used that same approach, reward and recognition. I will never measure up to David. He would take a picture of everybody. Now there was the Silver Pan Award became the Cheesehead Award for Pizza Hut, the Rubber Chicken Award for KFC, and I think the Sauce Packet Award for Taco Bell. And he took pictures with all the winners, but instead of just giving them to them, he proudly displayed them in his office in Louisville, Kentucky. And when he couldn't have any more room on the walls, he put them on the ceiling. And when he ran out of room on the ceiling, he put them up and down the hallways leading into his office. It became part of his leadership style, much like David Overton at the Cheesecake Factory. Leadership style was always reaching higher for excellence and challenging each of us. So those were the good things that I learned in the C-suite that I've incorporated into my own leadership style. And some days I'm better than others. But I also learned from some stinkers who were truly bosses. And I learned that's not who I wanted to be.
Yep.
So it's a little of both, actually, Brian, but mostly the good. And to me, that's what has now given me the impetus to want to pay it backward to help others along their growth journey, avoid some of the stinkers that I had, grow into not only a leader, but a legacy builder. And that is how you will be measured. Nobody will remember what your revenue was in the third quarter of 2017. But American poet Maya Angelou once said, I've learned people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And one of the satisfying aspects of looking back, and again, I made many mistakes along the way, but when I'll see somebody at a conference or someone will reach out to me and tell me that they remembered this or they appreciated this about what I did for them, most of the time I didn't remember it. But the point is, as a leader, you're always under a microscope. People are watching everything you do, everything you say, and they look up to you. And you have to earn it. That's why I say a boss is merely a title on a business card. Temporary if you truly are a boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look up the etymology of the word boss. And it's not pretty. So when people just throw it out like that, they don't truly understand the underpinnings of where it came from in history. And likewise, when you look at leader, it's a leader because that person has to earn it every single day, right? You don't get to call yourself a leader. It's how you show up and how you treat people. They will call you a leader.
That's right.
Well, that's awesome. Could I ask you a question here? I'm gonna ask a question, Brian, because
Go for it.
you mentioned something, Mark, about paying it backwards. Paying it backward.
Yeah.
Could you please explain what that is? How you do it?
Yeah, it's again, one of those phrases that most people will say, Mark, isn't it pay it forward? I think there was even a bad movie with Adam Sandler back in the 90s called Pay It Forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's in lexicon, commonly used. But I like to look at things almost like looking at light through a prism. And if you twist it a different way, you'll get a different light pattern. And so where it came to me as an epiphany was, not only am I a growth junkie, I love growth in all of its forms, but I'm a coffee junkie. And other than my favorite local coffee shop, Shoutout, I'm a huge Starbucks fan. I have been literally since it started years and years ago. And when I go to Starbucks, I'll go to the drive-thru and I'll pay for the car behind me. When I get up to the window and I'll ask them, can I pay for the car? And they'll say, oh, that's so nice of you. And I said, just do me a favor and tell them, God bless you, your debt has been paid. And then I'll drive away and I'll say a silent prayer for them. I don't know them. I don't know what they're going through that day. They don't know me, but I got to believe that in that moment, they feel valued. They feel seen and that they matter to somebody who they'll never meet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is something called the law of reciprocity. And it says basically, if someone does something nice for you, you feel a deep-seated urge to do something nice for someone else, and oftentimes in greater measure. So now imagine the people in that car talking about what just happened, the barista in the window talking about what just happened. And I've heard that it often is a catalytic event that starts a chain reaction. So it's not just me paying it backward, because I can't physically pay for the car in front of me. They've already gone. So I can't pay it forward, but I can pay it backward. And that creates this ripple effect, that law of reciprocity. And I'm told that it happens where the car behind me, who I was generous to, decided they would do likewise, they would do likewise, and they would do likewise. So it really is paying it backward when you stop and think about it, and don't just take words or phrases on face value the way a lot of people do.
Wow. All right. Amen to that.
Yep. I love it. So tell us about about the book, Leaf. What does Leaf mean? What does a leaf have to do with Purposeful Growth Revolution in the business world? It seems, at a glance, it seems like a business book.
It's both. It's designed to create an intersection between personal and professional growth that inspires individuals, teams, and organizations to find purpose in fulfilling their true growth potential, and in doing so, help make the world a little better, right? And it fits my purpose statement that I wrote, I don't know how many years ago, that says, I don't want to just make money and retire. I want to make a difference and inspire. And that means making a difference in the lives of others, inspiring them to want to do likewise. And while I believe I always had that ethos, it really hit home on February 21st, 2013. At the time, I was the president of about a $500 million casual dining restaurant concept that was owned by a food company that had its own restaurant company, its own food products group, and was publicly traded. And I was recruited from the Cheesecake Factory to come and become president and chief concept officer with 3 key goals. Turn the brand around. It's double-digit negative in sales. Research and put out there a refreshed, contemporary brand positioning that we can rally around, and create a concept extension that could earn the right to grow through capital. We're a publicly traded company. We've got money to spend, but we need to be able to spend it behind the winning horse, right?
Right.
So I'm a competitive son of a gun, and I decide, I never would have left the Cheesecake Factory otherwise, but here was a chance for the top job. Here was a chance to lead a turnaround. Here was a chance to build a team and create a vision and use all of the skills and abilities and talents and experiences I've gained to this point and get us across the finish line. And I believed at the time in something called the rule of threes, which says essentially, if you focus on 3 things, you're going to have better results. My 3 things were leadership, engagement, and accountability. And I would use them as a mantra, literally, with every communication. I'd say, William's doing a wonderful job of leadership. Look what his team is accomplishing. Or Brian is engaging his team on a deeper level, and look what they're doing. Or William is holding his team accountable for results, and look what they're doing to turn around sales in their restaurants, right? Leadership, engagement, and accountability. Everybody knew it. It was part of my own recognition and reward platform, and it was working until I got a fateful call from the CEO who said, Mark, the board has decided to move in a different direction. Instead of giving you the capital to grow that we promised you when we recruited you from the Cheesecake Factory, and you promised other people who joined the team, they feel like you guys have turned this around faster than they thought, and they want to strike while the iron's hot. But don't worry, you're going to lead the sales process. And if we don't find the right buyer or don't get the right multiple, we're going to keep the brand and nothing's going to change.
This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
And I'm like, okay. And you can't tell anybody. So this was in Southern California. The offices were in Orange County. I lived in Valencia. So if you know anything about LA, it's huge, right? That part you do know, but you may not know where Valencia is. It's north of downtown, and Orange County is south and west of downtown. So this would have been a 2-hour and 15, 2-hour and 30-minute commute each way. Couldn't do that. And I decided I'm committed to this opportunity. I will get a hotel. There was a Hilton right across the street from John Wayne Airport, and literally catty corner to our offices. So Sunday night, after dinner and putting the kids to bed, I would drive down to the hotel, work a long day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday. And about the time rush hour abated somewhat, which it hardly ever does, but before road construction, which is key, I learned, it's worse than road construction because they're shutting down lanes, right? Because that's when they do road constructions at night. I would then come home that Thursday night and be around for my family Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's when I wasn't in Ohio where the parent company was based, traveling there for board meetings, conference calls, follow-up meetings, you name it, or in one of our 145 restaurants in 24 states.
Wow.
So what I learned through this process was, a sacrifice is being made, but look what we're doing. Isn't this a noble, career-defining moment if we succeed? And we did. Everything we were asked to do, we accomplished. We turned the brand around within 2 years, double-digit negative sales to positive. We crafted a brand new brand positioning that was contemporary, that we all could rally around, new menu, new uniforms, new design, decor, and we put a concept extension that created a new growth platform for the future. And so we found a buyer, and instead of it being a private equity firm, which God forbid, we know what happens when they get involved, we found a strategic play, someone that we thought would be our perfect parent, the rightful owner of this concept, and that would take it and fulfill the promises that were made from the prior parent. After a long courtship, the deal closed on a Friday. We're drinking champagne, celebrating over the weekend. Monday morning at 8:00, I'm scheduled to meet with the new CEO to plot our new future together. At 8:05, I'm out the door. We've decided to move in a different direction. I'm like, what, over the weekend?
Unbelievable.
As I get 5 minutes to grab whatever I can, throw it in the box, and have my assistant throw the rest in a box and send it to me later. But I'm like, wow. Well, again, this was February 21st, 2013, just a little over 10 years ago. And at the end of February in Southern California, not other places, certainly, not Kansas City where I live, that's about the time the first signs of spring start to emerge. And after a fitful night of sleep, I take the dog out back to do his business. And in the backyard, we had a fig tree that was barren from the 4 or 5 or 6 weeks of winter that we do get in Southern California. And guys, as God is my witness, as the sun was coming up over the wall in that backyard, it shone on that fig tree. And on the end of one branch was this tiny little green sprig of a leaf just starting to emerge. And I got this epiphany right then that a leaf is a symbol of growth and rebirth. And I took the dog inside because this was bugging me. All of a sudden, you know how you hear it's always darkest before the dawn? That happened for me. You have no idea what that day and night was for someone who had put himself, as well as his whole team, who also got let go within 2 weeks, through a ringer to, again, accomplish this noble goal that we all could be proud of together.
Yep.
And I got to thinking something was missing with the rule of threes. But we need leadership. We need engagement. We need accountability. But what's missing? For me, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Fulfillment. And I wrote it down. But we weren't very fulfilled. We were chasing numbers for the sake of numbers. We were all sacrificed. At the end of the day, the rug got pulled out from underneath us. We didn't get the spoils of victory. And as I wrote it down, I then said, oh my gosh, a leaf is not only a symbol of growth and rebirth, it's a metaphor which stands for leadership, engagement, accountability, and fulfillment. And I drew this 4-circle Venn diagram, thinking about that fig tree in my backyard, that its purpose is to grow fig leaves. As we all learned probably in middle school, I might have been asleep that day, but I think I remember that all growth happens through the leaf of a plant or a tree, through the magic of photosynthesis. Right? And then as I was thinking about that not only does that fig tree only know how to be a fig tree, it can't be a maple, it can't be an oak. Its purpose is to be a fig tree to not only grow fig leaves to help it grow sturdy and strong, but also to bear fig fruit. And not only is fig fruit sustenance for people, I love me some fig jam, animals, if you cut it open, you'll see there are seeds inside that can be scattered for future growth. That is when I got this whole idea of the Purposeful Growth Revolution, as the word revolution has three definitions: an uprising of the people, a dramatic change in the status quo, and an object encircling another. And I got this idea. I started working on a treatment on my computer and started talking to different people. So all of a sudden, I got this sense of adrenaline. And I got to thinking, instead of the rule of threes, isn't there something different out there that I could latch onto? And there is. It's called the higher power, fours. When you think
Wow.
about it, there's 4 seasons, not 3.
Mm-hmm.
We wish there were winter, but if we didn't have winter, we wouldn't have spring. You have to have all 4 seasons. There are 4 directions, not 3. There are 4 chambers to the human heart, not 3. There are 4 elements to an atom, the source of all life, not 3. And I could go on and on with this foreplay, but you get the idea. As you probably have read,
You got a whole
there's
list
all
in the book.
of
Yep.
them.
That's right.
And actually, my
Right.
editor made me cut a couple of other pages.
And
so the higher power of fours got me to this model of the 4 circle Venn diagram. And I'm not going to say it's the model, the be all end all for everything, but it fits a lot of things. And as I different aspects of leadership has 4 subcomponents. Leadership represents the seed and root of that brand or that tree. And that leads to alignment. And there are 4 C's. There's clarity, there's connection, there's communication, and there's commitment that goes through that leadership element that's connected to engagement, engaging one's heart, head, hands, and habits. And the engaging aspect of the tree is its trunk, branches, and system of nourishment, which I learned is called savia, that in Spanish translates to English as lifeblood. Well, what's the lifeblood of any organization? It's people. And engagement leads to empowerment. And we know that empowered teams are more profitable teams. That then leads to accountability. Well, again, that fig tree's accountability is the leaf and it's the fruit. Like in an organization, it's about your achievement. Like, how do we measure what matters most? So outcomes or obstacles. What happens when we're off plan or something major happens? Well, I don't know, COVID, or outliers. Who can we study that's going to help us do what we currently do, the best of our ability, and then obsolescence, which you want to avoid by innovation, seeing around the corner to say what's next so we can keep this train moving. Does anyone know what happened to Blockbuster Video? Oh, BlackBerry, even Kodak.
Innovate or
These were
die.
high flyers, Circuit City, that were leaders in their category, but didn't innovate and died, right?
Yep.
So then it leads to fulfillment. This is the delicate, nurturing ecosystem, the soil, the sun, the rain that allows photosynthesis to occur to get the full value out of that plant or that person if they're in a community, right? And that's all about environment. So it's the people, it's the place, the processes, and the performance that ties it all together. And so now you've got this leaf growth model. And then the goal is always to scatter your seeds to help others along their growth journey. And so why I say it's about inspiring individuals, teams, and organizations to find purpose in fulfilling their true growth potential. I could stop there, but I say, and by doing so, make a positive, lasting difference in the world. And I say that because all of this, the stuff going on in the world, governments have proven ineffective at getting after and solving these. Religious organizations and nonprofits can only do so much, but businesses actually have the resources and the wherewithal to make changes that are necessary to sustain our planet and our way of life long into the future. So we don't become obsolete, right? Which is why I'm proud to be a member of the Senior Leader Network of Conscious Capitalism Incorporated, which is a global organization whose mission is very much aligned with mine, and that's elevating humanity through business. And that's what I talk about throughout the book. Is it's not just about profit, it's purpose and profit. And purpose leads to profit. And so many don't see it that way. They just see it's a bottom line business. We don't have time for that, namby-pamby, feel loving, tree hugging, very, very candy mark. And we're an online business. We're publicly traded. We get investors. Yeah, I know. I've had P&L responsibility. But I'll tell you, when you align behind a powerful, common, shared purpose, all of a sudden, let's look at our 4 stakeholders, our team members. They're going to want to come work for us. They're going to want to give more discretionary effort. They're going to want to be more engaged. They're not going to want to quietly quit. They're going to have a stake in the outcome, and they're going to feel a sense of empowerment, right? Our guests or customers or clients, if you're in B2B, they're attracted to companies that want to give back in the community, that have better quality products, that are more sustainable, that allow them to feel good about the purchase. Remember how I said external brand and marketing and sales is really all about a value exchange? What do I get for what do I pay? But it's most important, what do I feel like as a result of that? How do I feel? People will pay more they'll buy more for a product or service they feel is aligned with their values, right? Your business partners, I didn't say just shareholders or investors, but your business partners are anyone in your business ecosystem. They could be manufacturing partners, supplier partners, distributor partners, agency partners. Notice I say the word partners a lot because I have worked with companies that supported our brands, and we wouldn't be where we were without them. And by sharing our vision with them and making them feel like they're an owner with us, we're going to get their best work. And oftentimes these companies have greater resources than we could afford on our own. And they have their own research labs, or in the restaurant world, their own test kitchens or research they could get a hold of to give to us. And then our communities, giving back in our communities, it makes everybody feel better. And that's the idea behind the book.
I love it.
Wow.
Yep. And for the listeners, I could absolutely attest that it is as good as he frames it. The book is great. It's an easy read. It doesn't seem like it should be so easy, but it's a really easy read. But you do cover complex topics that are hard pull. Like it has, like you said, it has a little bit of everything in there. And again, great job. And I can't wait to finish it.
I really appreciate that, Brian. And when you put yourself out there, and you mentioned mindset, I have a whole chapter devoted to get the FUD out. There's fear, uncertainty, doubt, and delay. Wow. If you don't think I had fear, I've never written a book before. What if I fail? What if it's not any good? And what if it tarnishes the reputation I've worked so hard to build in the industry? The uncertainty, am I willing to risk an unsatisfying status quo? Even though a comfortable C-level experience, to give that up for something I feel called for. Remember, this idea came to me February of 2013. It chased me for a lot of years because I wasn't certain that it takes to go from corporate America team guy to solopreneur with actually 3 employees, me, myself, and I. And oftentimes we don't get along, so I'm not sure how well that will out.
That was great.
It's a leap of faith. And then you have the doubts that creep in, and wet cement, they start to harden if you give them power. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not some rock star CEO that's on the cover of magazines and featured on Fox News or Business or whatever, right? And then it leads to delay, right?
Yeah.
And you just put it off and say, I think this is good, but I don't know if it's great. And I should be doing this. I should. And you should all over yourself.
Wow.
Yep. But finally, I realized in going through this final leg of the journey that I had the antidote, and I knew it all along. And the antidote to FUD is that faith is greater than fear. Not the faith in a higher power, but the faith in you, the faith in your idea. And then hope is greater than uncertainty. It's said that hope is not a strategy. I think it's BS. I think hope with action is, you don't take action, you're just dreaming, and then you're right. It's not good. But hope with that richly imagined future. So for all of you who are entrepreneurs out there, maybe you've gone through the same FUD. How do you picture your life to look like at some point in the future? And then what actions do you have to take every day to get there? knowing it's not a linear straight ahead line. It's going to zig, it's going to zag. You're going to go 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. I know, I did it, right? But then now you're building up a belief system. I can do this. I am worthy of success. I no longer have those doubts that creep in the back of my voice. Or if I do, I know how to get myself out of the funk, right? Out of the FUD. And that's to take action. Indeed, purposeful action will overcome the paralysis of delay. And I know when I was going through times, it was like, Mark, when you feel like you're walking through hell, keep walking, moving forward. And all of a sudden, you'll accomplish something maybe small, and then something a little bigger. And then all of a sudden, the weight, just layer by layer, it's taken off your shoulders and you feel lighter. And so that's something I just want to make sure that I express to your viewers and listeners is get the FUD out, but know there's an antidote, right? It's not just about buck up, not just about, I'm going to go listen to some self-help, this and that, and get myself a little sugar, a little candy that's going to give me a boost of adrenaline for the moment, but really take time out to know that faith overcomes fear. Hope overcomes uncertainty. Belief overcomes self-doubts that are self-limiting. And action, indeed, purposeful action, will help you overcome the paralysis of whatever delay is making you put off that richly imagined future that you have for yourself and your family and those you love.
Mark, you have me a little over here because
I told you.
All that stuff you're saying is striking a chord with me, because Brian and I talk about that amongst ourselves, even with our podcasts. And that is amazing to hear. I can't wait to dig in and listen to the audiobook. Man, this is truly amazing. I'm so honored to have you here. You've created a model for bringing the human back into human relations.
Yeah.
Based on love.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that and how it can be incorporated at all levels?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it's really where I'm going next with this whole purposeful growth revolution. Is I've seen toxic work environments, right? I've seen the Great Resignation, where research that blew me away came from the Sloan School of Management at MIT, when they researched 34 million people who left the workforce during COVID globally. Asked a question, simple question, why? The number one most given answer, by 10 times greater than the second most given answer, COVID gave us all a bit of a timeout to reflect deeply on not only what, but who matters most in our lives. So whether you got COVID yourself, maybe a family member was hospitalized, or God forbid, someone you know died. I do. And I know that it gave me pause to reflect on my mortality and say, what am I going to stand for? What boundaries am I going to set going forward? Because I don't want to just go back to the same status quo. I want to do something different. I want my life to have more meaning. And so now we're seeing research, and specifically among millennials and Gen Z, according to Deloitte, who just published a study this in the summer, saying nearly 90% of them want purpose at work. And so this really fueled my idea for what can we do to put the human back in human resources? I say, all we need is love. And people look at me funny. And I'm like, no, not the kind of love that's going to get you a quick call from HR and escort for Cybersecurity. Not what I'm talking. The Greeks have 8 different definitions for love. And you probably know that eros is more sexual love, and philos is more, we got the word Philadelphia from philos, which means brotherly love, right? And agape is unconditional love. So what I'm talking about more is the philos, which is this notion of listen, observe, value, and empower. So I broke down love, just like I broke down leaf, into a 4-circle Venn diagram, and I went and studied the Gallup State of the Global Workplace studies that come out every year. And in the last several years, they're touting the fact that engagement is at historically low levels. Again, what the kids are calling quiet quitting, right? And now with hybrid and remote workplaces, we don't have the same dynamic at work. And so it's easier for someone to check out for a while. And so the goal is Why would they want to? According to Gallup's millions and millions of responses, again, all over the world, it comes down to some pretty basic humanistic traits and situations. The number 1 through, 6 or 7 reasons why people are lacking engagement, and about 50% at any given time are actively looking to leave their current employer. Yeah. If you are a leader in that organization, how's that going to make you feel? And if you realize the cost that goes into not only the cost of having to replace somebody through recruiting and hiring, and training, and recognition, reward, and retaining, and all that, but what about the lost productivity cost? Gallup suggests that nearly $9 trillion with a T dollars in gross domestic product globally is unrealized because of lack of engagement. I think that's terrible. So I went and studied what are the other factors that they cite as lack of engagement. Lack of connection to purpose and mission at work. Lack of feeling cared about at work. Lack of the ability to do what I do best. Lack of clarity as to what I'm supposed to do on the front end, and lack of frequent feedback to let me know how I'm doing throughout the process. And on. I'm like, those are fixable. Well, how do we fix it? Because some of us of a certain age grew up in a command and control management style, yet we know younger people that dog don't hunt anymore. So what's going to have to change? They're going to change because now they have more options. The gig economy, they can do a number of different things that we didn't have the opportunity to do. We tolerated it because that's just the way it was. Now they're saying, I'm not tolerating that old, tired, toxic command and control management style. They're looking for a more humanistic, more relational leadership style that will benefit all 4 stakeholders who I mentioned earlier. So listening is the first step, though. Even though it's not linear, you need to be able to listen to your team member. Notice I didn't say employee because words matter. Those of you who ever growing up, you know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you were in a band or orchestra or choral. When you have a role to play, that it makes you feel more dutiful to the person on your right and your left. You want to make sure you don't let the team down, right? If you're an employee, it's easy to feel like just a faceless, nameless employee ID number. But by listening to somebody, if you're the leader, not a boss, a leader, you're listening to what they're saying with empathy and understanding, but you're also listening for what they're not saying. It would be naive to think that people aren't maybe going through something outside of work that may impact the quality of their performance at work. And so if you're a leader, what you're trying to do is build trust, because right off the bat, someone's going to say, I don't think I can tell Mark that I'm caring for my elderly mom and it's taking me away from work and it's causing me a lot of mental stress. And I have a sick kid who needs surgery and I just don't know how we're going to pay for it. Possibly I'm going through a relationship issue and it's really making me struggle at work. If you're creating that safe space of belonging in a community, you're listening to someone, you're hearing what they're saying and what they're not saying and asking questions by developing curiosity. It may be, William, I don't know. If there's anything I could do, please let me know. Or Brian, and you say, no, I don't think there really is, but you feel better now that you trusted me with what's going on in your life, because we're about building a relationship now. This isn't about a manager who it's transactional. This is about a leader and it's relational. And if they're truly a legacy builder, that means it'll be transformational. Here's what I'm saying. If I work for a manager or a boss, I'm going to say, I must obey you. If I work for a leader, I'm going to say, I will follow you, because that's relational. So I go from transactional to relational, but transformational is when it's my turn to lead, I will lead like you. Remember those mentors I talked about earlier in our show with me? So I want to be that kind of leader that someone wants to willingly follow, not just dutifully salute and execute, but someone who wants to hopefully lead even better than me when it's their turn to lead. So now imagine if I have 4, 5, 6 direct reports. See the multiple ripple effects? That's what I mean by transformational. That's how we're going to get rid of the tired, old, ineffective command and control management style and transform our workplaces into a more relational, humanistic leadership style. So I'm listening and I'm observing. I mentioned Andy Reid before. He doesn't wait for the end of the season like we do with the performance appraisal, which I hate that word appraisal. It sounds like you're a piece of real estate.
Yeah, real estate. Yep.
He's coming on the practice field, in the team room, in the film rooms, for games, during games, halftime, after games, right? And so observing means coaching, encouraging, mentoring, even critiquing in real time. People want to know, how am I doing, right? Are you clear on what I'm supposed to be doing? And you've told me. Or are you holding me to a standard you really haven't told me, but you're going to ding me when it comes to review time, which is a gotcha that a lot of people go through. I've been through it. And then it becomes, maybe this is going to impact your ability to earn a bonus in a bonus pool, or to get a raise of a certain level, because there's only so much money in the raise pile, or only so much money in the bonus. And I got an end of the year gotcha. Instead of observing, mentoring, coaching in real time. And then value is so important, because when you feel valued, more than just fair and equitable compensation and benefits, that's the green space, and even reward and recognition for when I do something well, that's good too. But when you value something, guys, don't you want to invest in it? Don't you want to grow it? Like in an investment. Okay, hey, I could put my money in under the mattress, and it's not going to grow interest, but at least it's safe. Or I could invest it in things that I have seen historically will multiply that money. And people are the same way. By investing them, it may be that you're saying, hey, William, you mentioned something about AI and curiosity about AI. There's a conference that's going on in the Bay Area, and I think it would be really good if you went there and learned a little bit more, and then came back and talked to us about how we can invest in some of those techniques to help improve productivity or even job satisfaction at work. Ultimately, you now feel that you're valued, but you're not just a faceless, nameless employee ID number, but you are a valuable member of the team with a role to play, and now the ability to learn and grow, which is when I said earlier that Gallup says are dissatisfiers. I don't feel like I have the ability to learn and grow. And then empower, the E. This is the best of all. We could stop at LOB, but think about this. I don't know about you guys, but when I learned to ride a bike, I remember one birthday, I got this beautiful royal blue Schwinn Stingray bike that had a banana seat, handlebars, mag back wheel, the whole 9 yards. But I had training wheels because I wasn't ready to ride it by myself just yet. But I would tool around the neighborhood because I couldn't fall because I had the training wheels on, right? But I remember one Saturday morning, my dad woke me up and said, son, it's time to take the training wheels off. Are you ready? And one part of me wanted to be really ready because I want to be like the big kids, right?
That's right.
Going to be doing something I've never done before. So he takes me out in the garage and get the bike out, and he's taking the training wheels off. And all the while he's talking to me, he's reassuring, I know you can do this. Here's what you do. And then we get on the sidewalk, and he's not just telling me what to do. He's holding onto the bike with me, walking with me, talking and saying, remember, you got to keep pedaling. And if you start to wobble a little bit, don't overcorrect because you're going to fall. And of course I stopped pedaling, and of course I wobbled and fell a few times. But I remember when he would push me and say, okay, I'm going to let you go now. And I'd say, okay, you've told me what to do. You've walked alongside me. It ran alongside me as I do it. It's up to me to now do what I'm capable of doing and what you've taught me. And I remember when I finally got it, I rode down to the end of the street. I was able to stop on my own, turn around and come back. And I got to the edge of the driveway where my dad was standing. And I don't know whose grin was bigger, his or mine. That sense of freedom that I felt, not only did my neighborhood get bigger, my world got bigger. I lived on that bike that summer and subsequent summers, but it was all based on the importance of empowerment, of somebody helping me do what I'm capable of doing. But if they didn't give me the opportunity to learn and grow and fall down a few times and pick me back up and encourage me to keep going, I don't know what would happen. So now you're coming back from the Bay Area in that conference. I say to you, William.
Hey, this is William Tincup, Work Defined. Hey, listen, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Inside the C-Suite, the podcast. It's a look into the journey of how one goes from high school, college, whatever, all the way to the C-Suite, all the ups and downs, failures, successes, all that stuff. Give it a listen. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast.
In the next couple of weeks, we have a team meeting. Would you be open to putting together a presentation for the team that could outline some ideas that you learned that could maybe help make our respective jobs more productive and maybe more satisfying? All of a sudden now you go, wow, yeah. And I say, as your leader, what do you need from me? Are there resources that you need? You take something off your plate. I'm working on 3 projects, and there's one that it's almost across the finish line, but man, it'd be great if Bob or Sally could finish that up for me. That'd give me time to get work on this. Okay, done. What else? I'm going to need the room. I'm going to need the projector. I'm going to need all, okay, great. So now comes the big day, and you present, and all of a sudden your team members are looking at you going, wow. And they're giving you a standing ovation. How are you going to feel? That level of empowered feeling can last a lot longer than a spot bonus, right? And we've seen, all studies are showing that, yes, we need to earn a fair, equitable living for sure. But incentivizing people just financially has never proven to work. Or if someone wants to leave saying, oh, I didn't know, you're a really valuable member of the team. What if we bumped your salary up 2% or whatever? They might stay for a little bit longer, but then they're probably going to bail, and then you'll have lost that money. And it's never about the money. And anybody who tells you it is, it's not. It's about the value you feel as a member of a team that is listened to, observed, and valued, and empowered to be your very best. And to me, that's the new book I'm working on. It's a sequel to the Purposeful Growth Revolution in a way that really just builds off the foundation that has been laid with that bigger, broader tome that's maybe admittedly 100 miles wide, 10 feet deep. This one's going to go even deeper into this goal of putting the human back in human resources. And to do, all we need is love.
All right.
Amazing. It's a perfect place to end, Mark. And again, we can't thank you enough for joining us today. And we do have a game that we'd like to play with folks. Our guests is called This or That. Just some random thing, just so folks could get to know you beyond the book and beyond these things. And we do have a debate that we want your input on. Me and Walter will.
No pressure.
No pressure. We'll get into it though. Walt, you want to do the first 3 and then I'll do the last?
Sure. Yep. So number 1. So you can answer either one of these, or you can say neither, or whatever. Okay, so college or pro sports?
College.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Number 2, do you prefer?
College is becoming pro.
Yeah, that's true.
For a little bit longer, I'm going to hold on to this image of college athletics being pure and raw and do it for the team, but it's quickly becoming a business that I'm not sure we're going to recognize in a few years, but.
Yeah,
I'll stick with college for now.
You're right about that. Yep. It's a good one.
So do you prefer news on the television or NPR?
I'm more of a digital person. I'll get my news. Every day I get a feed from the Wall Street Journal, and I read that as part of my day, and I try to find sources that I feel, coming from a journalism background,
Right.
are as unbiased and professional and look at both sides as equally as humanly possible, even though we all
Agreed.
know we all have inherent biases. But I
Yep.
try to get the news that New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, AP, that are tried and true and tested, that have no obvious political agenda.
Awesome.
Love it.
And my last one for you is number 3, hiking or sailing.
That's a tough one. I grew up as a swimmer, and half my life I played football and other sports, but swimming was something I did. It was 2 hours in the morning
wow.
before school, 2 hours
wow.
in the afternoon
Wow.
after school, and
Wow.
summer, same thing. So I spent a good part of my childhood in water. And for me, there is nothing better than being on a boat, sailing or, water skiing or jet skiing, or just
Wow.
being out with the spray of the water hitting your face and the wind and the sun. But I love a good hike too. That's tough. It's
Go both.
It's tough.
Okay.
As a both. Sounds like a both to me.
Yep.
Simon Sinek or Gary Vaynerchuk?
Okay. I love me some Simon Sinek. And the whole Start With Why movement. And what we didn't get to earlier, I'm going to get to now real quickly. And you may have already come to it in the book. The whole Start With Why movement is great. It says people want to know why you do what you do. And they care about that more than they even care how you do it and even what you do. And I buy that to a point, but I really believe, especially if someone from a marketing background, that I believe in who. We should start with who, and specifically who you serve. And to me, there are 4 realms of service: personal, relational, professional, and spiritual. We're whole people, and we need to be able to be in service. We talked earlier about servant leadership. Once you're in service to those 4 realms, then that often leads you to your why, which is your purpose and your motivations, that leads you to your how, which I define as how you're uniquely gifted. And how you invest those gifts is what leads you to your, what are you doing with it all? What results do you get? So it's tough to argue that he's a brilliant guy, but I think he missed something that I find personally very obvious. And I think Gary is someone who just keeps it real. There's no pretense. There's no fluff. It's here's what I've learned. Here's what I think. Here's what I know. Here's what I don't know. And I want to share it with you because I want you to be better as a result. I'm going to lean towards Gary.
All right.
So did I win?
No. No, that's coming after this. Don't worry. It's a good one. You're going to love it. Me and Walt were debating something before we, as a preparation. And we're like, no, I was like, you know what? That's the question. Hold on. David or Samson?
David. Easy.
I knew you were going to say that.
Easy. Yep.
You think about a young shepherd boy, all against the Philistines, and all of the older people in the tribe were like, we're taking this guy on. And you got Goliath going, come on, give me your best shot. And David says, I'll do it. And he had faith. And all he had was a dang slingshot, right? And sure enough, he got one right between the eyes and he slew Goliath, but he did it based on using his training, being fearless, but being faithful, and then ultimately conquering and achieving something that no one thought was possible at a young age. And plus Samson allowed himself to get his hair cut and then lost his. He had it.
Yes.
David was without fault either. He blew it too. But Everyday David, King David, I'm going to take it for Solomon. Sorry.
Amazing. I love it. The last one is corporate or, like you put it, solopreneur.
I'm going to be honest, guys. I'm still working into this whole solopreneur thing because I was a corporate American team guy for 30 years. And when you strike out on a new path, you've got to give yourself grace. I didn't do it. I'm a type A++, serial achiever, and still recovering perfectionist. And I thought, well, I'll just slay this. I've written this book and I'll just do this and I'll do that and I'll build this brand and this personal brand. And it's happening, but it's just not as fast as I was expecting because I'm doing something I'd never done before. And so when you talk about humility, I've been humbled like you wouldn't believe. But it's been in a good way because it's helped me understand that I need to rely on people. I've met people such as yourselves who I've been able to learn from and grow with. God's put people in my path every single day that have helped me along my journey. And so when I talk about paying it backward, there are countless people who've paid it backward to help me along mine. I would start with corporate team guy, but I'll tell you what's really fulfilling is when you are on a podcast like this, and you feel like what you're saying and sharing is going to make a difference in the lives of people that you will never meet. And it fit more perfectly my purpose statement, which is I don't want to just make money and retire. I want to make a difference and inspire. And then say, yes, I'll share that with anybody. It doesn't have to be just mine. But if you have that mindset, you will be profitable in all ways, not just financially, but the way you look at yourself, the legacy that you leave, and the seeds you sow into others and help them along their growth journey. And it's a path that I'm on and I feel good about. You should. I got to keep moving forward along that path, though, guys. So thank you for this platform. I really
please keep going. Please keep going.
Thank you for being on.
Please keep going. What me and Walt were at, so we always end the show with a question to just get some between passion and purpose. But we came down to
your purpose is your passion, but also your passion is your purpose. So I believe they're inextricably linked. You can't have a purpose and not be passionate about it. God doesn't do that to people. He gives us gifts that be sowed in our heart. That this is your passion, but also your passion. Got to be both. One fuels the other. If I'm passionate, it'll lead me to a purpose to find an outlet that makes my passion mean something, right? I could be passionate about golf, and I am, but I'm a professional golfer, right? But if I have a purpose, then I can make it a passion, and I could look at that prism and twist it a bit differently and see that I'm made for more than just myself.
Okay. Walt, do you remember how you had it phrased before this?
Yeah. So the original question was more tailored to say, should we as payroll professionals or corporate employees or people in general focus more on our passion or our purpose? And it's like, I think you answered that already because the two are intertwined for you. So that's where Brian and I got into the debate, because Brian was like, well, he said, before I read Mark's book, I would have agreed with you, but now I think I'm leaning towards what Mark is saying in his book.
I want to directly address your listeners and viewers and those who work in payroll, because we really haven't done, and I want to make sure I don't leave before I say, you have the most important job in the company. And I say that not to pat you on the head and pay lip service to it. I truly believe it. And again, as someone who's had full P&L responsibility, if people don't get paid, work doesn't get done. And we are able to keep our promises to all of our stakeholders, our team members, our customers, guests, or clients, depending on your industry, our business partners, and our communities. Try looking at it the other way. You ever see when there's a glitch, maybe sometimes in the software or the banking, and someone misses payroll?
Oh, yeah.
Well, now all of a sudden you see how important you are, right?
Oh, yeah.
So my point is, I see you and I feel you and I appreciate you. And all the stuff we're talking about today, you might say, well, I'm not sure that's directly applicable to my day-to-day job. I believe it is.
Definitely is.
It's how you work at it. And people say, I just don't know. I feel like I'm not really living into my purpose, or I'm not passionate about this. Another industry I had a conversation with a young lady, and she's, I've read your book. I love all this. I'm trying to get my team to understand that what they do matters. And she works for a large global business services firm. And her job and her team's job is serving as marketing for the sales team. And I said, can you give me an example of some of your clients? She goes, there's so-and-so, Pfizer, and so-so. Oh, wait, stop. You mean to tell me Pfizer is one of your clients? This is a few years ago. That is on the forefront of COVID vaccines. Now, your team is supporting the sales function that allows those people to do their jobs better, more efficiently, more productively. You're part of the solution of a cure, or at least the ability to mitigate the damage of COVID, right? And she all of a sudden brightened up and said, oh my God, Mark, I've never thought of it that way before. And she went back and talked to her team, and they had the best meeting they've had in a while. And she said, engagement has risen. Everybody feels like they now see a bigger, part of their job and the ecosystem that they're a part of and the important role they play. And the same thing I'll say is for payroll. If people don't get paid, work doesn't get done, right? And if work doesn't get done, nobody achieves their goals. And what you do matters. It matters a ton. And I just want to say thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much. And I didn't address it specifically because being that I've dug in already, this is applicable to everyone, period. I think you can do any show, any platform that's out there because it's applicable.
Yeah.
It's across everything. But thank you for addressing our folks. Our payroll folks know that we're passionate about serving them and bringing the best show we can. We actually don't veer from payroll often, right? I think you're like the second guest that we've had that is not specifically a payroll person. And I wouldn't have had you come on if I didn't think it could be applicable, right? Because we've promised our listeners that we will be wardens and diligent to the product that we put out for them. So I stand behind it 100%, and it's applicable. We talked a little bit about it, Mark, and I think I'm in the winter of a winter, not the winter, right? Because it can be a winter of my life, and I'm happy to have seen that and had that clarification. I know that Walt now Walt understands why I was so impacted, why I told him he was going to love this. By the way, his full name is Walter William Duncan III. That's why Walter William is interchangeable.
Yeah, I was wondering. I thought
everybody does. I know. He's trying to rebrand as William, and I just keep pulling him back to Walter. But yeah, I can't thank you enough. Yeah. And I look forward to following the journey and keeping on the next book. And yeah, man, keep going. Thank you very much.
Well, my pleasure. And remember, you got to send me a pic with your book.
Yes.
And that way you can gift William the audio book. And it'll be a great testimonial also. And
yes,
I look forward to hearing, William, what you think when you have a chance to dig into it yourself. And it's been a pleasure meeting you both. I can tell we're like-hearted. Yep. And being like-hearted leaders is so different than being like-minded, which just means we think alike. That's how we have a lot of division in our country, right? People that think alike and stay. But when you're like-hearted, you have the ability to listen and understand where other people are coming from. You may not agree with it, but you at least have an opportunity to listen and understand. And to me, that makes all the difference for us as human beings. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Likewise.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
My pleasure.
We'll leave it there. And as always, folks, we love you.
Before we sign off, here are a couple quick things. Don't forget to follow It's About Payroll on LinkedIn, and It's About Your Paycheck on Facebook and TikTok.
Thank you for being part of our payroll community, and thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.